How do you feel like your passing has been overall this season?
I think it's been solid. Of course, there's always room for improvement, and we want to be considered one of the best passing teams in the country, but we've also faced some really tough servers compared to a lot of teams when Pitt and Kentucky had two of the best topspin servers in the country. So I think some of those numbers are skewed a little bit by aces, where hopefully we don't give up 4 or 5 aces against the same server too often this year. But definitely something we're going to continue to get better at. But overall, fairly satisfied. We hit, this weekend our passing numbers weren't as good as you would think, but we didn't have that many opportunities. And we hit over almost 400 as a team, so that's pretty good.
Coach, last week you talked about you don't win or lose a starting spot based off of one match. That clip I posted on social media gained a lot of traction, and then it got even more traction after you started Laney at Libero this past weekend. So this isn't a question, it's more of like your mindset. Where did you learn that philosophy where you give the players opportunities to learn and grow match over match, and they don't lose confidence based off of one match happening, I don't play well, and I'm never seeing the court again? Because a lot of young girls talk about their coach would say that, and then they don't, and then they never play again, and it's really defeating to them as a young girl trying to grow in the game.
I think that, just you said it already, is as a coach, you want to do what you say you're going to do. And as a player, I mean, there's nobody you expect to play perfect all the time. And if people feel like they have to, that's when they're going to fail. So want them to feel free to make mistakes and to get better, and give them multiple chances. But at some point, if there is multiple chances and you have to make a change, then I want to be able to do that with full confidence that I'm doing the right thing too, not just making a gut reaction or something based off a small sample size. You want it to be based off a big sample size.
You mentioned the passing wasn't where you wanted, but you still hit 400. Where is that? Yeah, is that Bergen making up, or the hitters being able to do more with those out assists?
Yeah, I think, if your pass, so we, like, for example, one rotation on Sunday, we had 4 attempts. So you have one bad pass in that rotation, your number is going to be very low. Overall, yeah, the passing numbers weren't fantastic, but Bergen had a great game. Campbell came in and did great, and I thought our attackers were really aggressive and just played a complete game.
Do you feel Bergen's getting more comfortable when in your system or settling into that faster tempo?
Yeah, I think she's getting more comfortable. I think just playing more, we're 6 games in now, so that is getting to be a bit larger sample size, and there's some comfortability there. So I think she's settling in nicely.
Dani, I think you may have said it on radio last week, and Bergen mentioned it here a minute ago, the need for your team not to feel relieved after they win a big match. For you, why is that so important?
Because it's a long season, and if you're feeling relieved after every game, it takes a lot of the joy out of it and the fun. And I want our team to be playing free and enjoying every minute, and whether it's a big opponent or a small opponent, that we are taking it for what it is. And it's like the most important thing in this program is the thing we're doing right now.
Are there experiences, like as a coach or as a player, where you saw girls struggle with that? I mean, you go back to being in this program as a coach or a player, and having those expectations being ranked so high, where you see that creating a weight on them if they're going to be relieved after a victory?
I feel like that we got that way a little bit at Louisville towards the end. It was just like this feel of relief instead of excitement, and we'd always, built our program on joy and enjoying the moment, enjoying the journey, all the cliche things that coaches say, but we weren't actually living up to that, and it was the opposite. So to feel that so early in the season, I was like, well, I don't want to go through the next 25 games feeling relieved. I want to be fired up for these wins, and it's a big deal to win. Not everybody gets to win, and it's hard to win. So want them to understand that too.
I'm sure you saw the Izzy Stark news this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
As a former player at this level, are you just able to speak on the mental toll that these players go throughout the course of the year, and maybe your perspective of it now as a coach, of things you may have to deal with throughout the course of the year behind the scenes?
Yeah, I just think that college sports are such a big deal now, especially with media, social media, and like these players are put on pedestals, and at the end of the day, they're college students. They're, working to get their degrees. They're having, like, meeting new people. They're living away from home for the first time. So it's a lot. And then on top of that, to be such a public figure in their sports, it's really, really hard. And even as a player, I didn't have to deal with social media, thank goodness. And the media was much less. It was really just in your little bucket or bubble of Nebraska. And the way the players handle it, is pretty phenomenal when you think about it from all sports. You look at the football team and men's basketball. So just a lot, and just grateful that Nebraska is an athletic department that understands this and puts the resources in place to support and try to stay ahead of, mental health and ahead of some of these things. We don't, take that for granted, that we're going to have moments that it's going to be really, really hard. And again, hopefully we're ahead of it to the point that we don't have somebody step away. But, sad news for them. Izzy's a fantastic player and such a great program. And I feel for what they're going through, particularly Izzy Stark.
Prioritize, having fun. Kind of piggybacking off of that, how important is it? It's kind of cliche, but like enjoying the moment, enjoying going to Nashville, enjoying these big things that have already happened, and just enjoying the fun of the game, just to kind of help with the mental side of it.
Yeah, again, we preach it all the time. We try to mix up practices, make sure that there's, it's a good mix of competition plus some silly games, and make sure it's new. And so we're not in this monotonous routine of school, volleyball, school, and just that's the way I want to approach each day. Like, even with the staff, I don't want to come in and be feeling like this is only work. It's a game, and of course it means a lot to a lot of people, but it is just a game at the end of the day. So want to make sure we always remember that.
What do you know about Utah so far?
Really good serving team. So, when you talk about our passing, might not be up to standards. We have another great serving team coming in here, and they have one of the best outsides in the country. And so they're coached really well. Beth Lanier's been the coach there for 30 years, and they've had a lot of success and a lot of changes where they can continue to have success. So it'll be a battle. I also think the last few times Utah's been here, it's been 5 gamers and win. I think they won a couple. So really good program.
What, 3 weeks from enter the 4th week of the season, do you feel like you have a good grasp of what the talent level is on this roster? There's still combinations, players are still trying to figure out their role and what needs to go.
Well, I think we have a good grasp. It's with this team, because it's so talented, roles will be evolving all year, but I think we have a better handle on how to use them, when to use them, and like what potential changes could happen in the future.
Rebecca on Matt Rule's podcast this past week mentioned that she wants to play with an attitude where she's pissing people off. And what does that look like in practice, just away from what we see?
Well, I think Rebecca's done a great job of changing that from like, I'm going to chirp at people and get in their ear versus I'm going to get in their way with my play. And so in practice, it's really frustrating to play against her 'cause she touches everything on the block, and you might think you're getting a kill, and somehow this middle is like diving for the second ball, and so she's become more frustrating with her play, not just her voice. And you can see that translating to matches, just how hard she's working, and she just makes such a difference when she's out there. We also keep track of like 6-on-6 wins, and most of the time Rebecca's team wins, no matter who else is on her team.
Is the entire non-conference set up before you got here?
Yeah. Yes.
What have you liked about how it's, now that you're into the non-conference, what have you liked about how it's set up? What you got?
What do I like? I love the first serve. I'm bummed that you can only play in that 2 out of 4 years. Because I think getting that extra week is huge. Plus, it's just like a big build-up, so it's an awesome way to start volleyball. I also think we have a good mix of, teams that we quote-unquote should beat versus some great competition. And getting to play some of the West Coast or Western teams is fun because we don't see them very often. So you talk about Utah, Arizona, Grand Canyon, we don't know a lot about them, so it's always fun to play those teams that you don't see all the time.
Bergen said that she likes the back-to-back matches because she wants to stay in that competitive mindset from one day to the next. How do you approach that as a coach of first back-to-back of the year?
Oh, can't say I have a strong preference either way. I think back-to-back you might worry a little bit more about rest time and how fresh we'll be the next day. So like you worry a little bit more about sleep patterns and meals, but other than that, it's pretty much the same as usual, and just really encourage the players to take extra care of themselves when it comes to the little things when you're playing back-to-back.
You only have 4, I think, the entire season. Is the sport moving away from that, or just giving them time to do that?
Yeah, I feel like I think it's TV. You know, the sport. They're moving matches midweek. They're showcasing volleyball at main times. So, I don't think it's really coaches or conferences that are pushing that. I think it's just more where the sport's going with TV.
You won't tell them no to give that extra rest in there, right?
No, I won't tell them no. I also won't ever say no to putting a match on a major TV network. That's for sure.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks.